A lot of us have a testimony where at one point in time we were enemies of Christ. We were not members of the church. We didn't believe in Jesus, at least to go to heaven, that is. A lot of us know Jesus but choose to deny him or reject him. I actually got this comment in a video today that I saw in my YouTube studio. Someone said, I deny Jesus. Many people do. Here's the thing. Just because we deny Jesus doesn't mean that he doesn't exist. Even the people in the Bible denied Jesus, but they knew that he existed. They knew who he was. They just rejected it. In Acts 22, Paul gets locked up in Jerusalem. There he has the opportunity to give them a statement, and this is what he says. So we're going to start in verse 17 because this is what I kind of want to focus on. When I had returned to Jerusalem and was praying in the temple, I fell into a trance and saw him saying to me, Make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, because they will not accept your testimony about me. Now, what's going on here is Paul's recounting his story about how he met Jesus on the road to Damascus. And after returning to Jerusalem, he went to the temple to pray. And this is where he fell into a trance and saw Jesus saying to him, Make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, because they will not accept your testimony about me. And Paul said, And I said, Lord, they themselves know that in one synagogue after another I imprisoned and I beat those who believed in you. And when the blood of Stephen, your witness, was being shed, I myself was standing by and approving and watching over the garments of those who killed him. And he said to me, Go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. So what does this verse tell us? Well, it tells us a couple of things. Number one is that when Paul returned to Jerusalem and he was praying in the temple, this is holy ground that Paul's on. So this is a holy experience that he had, therefore giving it more credence to the fact that Jesus really did show up to him and give him this next set of instructions to get out of there. Make haste and get out of Jerusalem quickly, because they will not accept your testimony about me. A lot of people didn't like Paul's gospel. Even the disciples, when Paul came around, they were first leery about him because of Paul's history, about how he was persecuting the way and how he was locking up men and women both left and right if they believed in Jesus and followed him. So a lot of people weren't going to accept the fact that Paul was a new man, that he was a new creation in Jesus, and that he was a warrior for Christ now. And I said, Lord, they themselves know that in one synagogue after another I imprisoned and beat those who believed in you. So Paul is expecting that his testimony, that his experience, that these guys that are in the Pharisees, the Sadducees, the people that he's been working with for all these years, all his life, he's grown up into this. These people that would hold some weight with them, like they know me, they should believe me. They should, if they trust anyone, they should trust me. And this is the mindset that Paul has as he's going into this whole journey that Jesus is getting ready to send him on. But that's not what happens. He goes into the synagogues and they start rejecting him. Synagogue after synagogue, they reject the gospel that Paul's bringing them. And this is why Jesus says, Go, for I will send you far away to the Gentiles. Paul brought the message to synagogue after synagogue. And after being rejected so many times, Paul does go and start ministering to the Gentiles. Even after the beating of Stephen, where Paul was there, nodding in acceptance at Stephen's feet while he was being beat to death, that still held no weight with them. The fact that this guy had put in so much work for the Jewish people against the new uprising of the way didn't hold any weight with them. They didn't care about none of that. None of that stuff gave him any credit when it came to him speaking about Jesus. I wonder what situations you face in your life now that you're a man of God, a woman of God, someone that has come from a wretched past. You got a bad past. You used to be someone that didn't follow Jesus, and you have scars to show that. Maybe there's a bunch of things in your past that you regret. Maybe you were promiscuous. Maybe you were angry. Maybe you were addicted. Maybe you struggled with pornography. And people know this about you. Therefore, they discredit the new faith that you have. Some people like that, they'll never accept anything you tell them. But a lot of people, when they meet you now and you tell them about your testimony, they won't even see that person in you. This happens to me a lot. I tell people about my past, and some of them are shocked. Some of them can see it. Some of them recognize I got a little season on me. But a lot of people, when I tell them that I've been to prison for robbery, that I've been to prison for assault, that I've been to prison for trafficking drugs, a lot of people don't see that because they see the man that I am now. Now, while I still feel like I look like the same person, I feel like all the tattoos and stuff that I have tell a vivid story. A lot of people don't see that in me, but that's because I'm a new creation. And I'm thankful that a lot of people don't see me that way, because I don't want anyone to judge me for the man that I used to be, but I want them to accept me for the man that I am. And that is a new creation, a servant of Jesus Christ, a man that loves Jesus and makes YouTube videos about it. And I know that I'm not here to get the approval of man. I'm here to get the approval of Jesus, just like Paul was. And so what he did was he'd go out and he'd tell the gospel to the Gentiles, and he'd ruffle a lot of feathers. And it was worth it, because you and I can be saved by the gospel that Paul was spreading about what Jesus Christ came and did on that cross. I encourage you all to not let anyone, to not let any naysayers, not let any of your family members get in the way of you worshiping and serving Jesus. I know that there can be many roadblocks or stumbling blocks or hurdles that get in the way. Maybe there's going to be some days where you just feel like giving up, and you don't feel so sure about if you're worthy enough to be the one out here spreading the gospel, telling people about Jesus. You don't feel qualified. But you know the old cliche saying, and it's a cliche for a reason, that God doesn't call the qualified, he qualifies the called. You may not start out with the best speech or the best oratory or even full knowledge of like what Jesus did on the cross and why, but you can get better and you can make progress. And all you got to do is just wake up, die to yourself every day, and take up your cross. Let the Holy Spirit speak through you, give you the right words to say, and you can make a huge impact for the kingdom of heaven. There will be many religious people that you come up against that tell you that you don't do it right, but it doesn't matter what they say. All that matters is Jesus and what Jesus says about you. And Jesus calls you loved, Jesus calls you saved, and that's what matters. You're never going to be perfect. The only perfect one was Jesus. And even Paul wasn't perfect, but he definitely tried to run the race with endurance to the end. And that's what I'm trying to do. What about you? That's going to do it for this one. I'll catch you guys on the next one. Until then, God bless.